How many DePaul Alpha Kappa Psi members does it take to set up a live YouTube video here?
Too many apparently. Yeah, sorry about all that. I think I promoted it. I made the mistake about promoting it on Instagram, saying that we'll be live and everything, but I think we're like all delayed, but whatever, we're here, right?
Yeah, that's all that matters. I deleted that story, by the way, just so we could save a little. I appreciate the promotion efforts, and then we just kept running around on these links. So,
Yeah.
in general, we could just I don't know, we could just talk free agency. I think that was the point of this whole thing was talk Bears, talk NFL. But
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess what are your initial thoughts so far with what Polls has done so far?
I feel like Poles is like almost like an Asian parent in terms of his frugality. That being said, it's like everything's a deal. Everything is a good deal. All the contracts, it's like we haven't overpaid for anything. Uh, Almost to the detriment, I think, of like actually, getting certain players, right? That maybe, the fans wanted more so of, but everything's just been disciplined. So I do like the linebacker signings for both Edmonds and Edwards, right? I think that really solidifies things. That I feel satisfied with Sanborn, like maybe at the mic, sure, but he's a great Sam for sure. So that's for me, I guess, hey, those are both upgrades, but I mean, overall, I think um, what is it, uh, Draymond Jones. I think he was like the only one that I was like really, really gunning for. But other than that, the rest, I think we're all solid signings heading into the draft. More so of, yeah. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall body of work so far, and we're not even more than a handful of hours into like the actual free agent signing period. I mean, he's done a lot, especially on the offensive side, defensive side with, like you're saying, the linebackers. I had a little bit of like a hesitation with the Edmonds signing just because it was really rich, and I think PFF like ranked him like the fifth best um, outside linebacker in football. And I mean, I've heard his coverage skills are pretty impressive, and maybe that syncs up with how Flus wants to run the defense. But 18 mil a year, I was like, whoa, like for a linebacker these days, like that's pretty steep. And just figured there was like a ton of depth available on the free agency board. And then we were talking like in the draft, like if we go with like a third round, fourth round pick, like it just figured maybe we would take that route where we're spending more on the front, the front end of the line, at least defensively. And then, on the offensive side for line, I think that, a few of our names kind of slipped like McGlinchey, McGarry, Orlando Brown. I guess he wasn't like a scheme fit. Nate Davis, I don't know. I saw some mixed reviews on how he performs, and like just this kind of reshuffling musical chairs on the offensive line to like maybe slide Whitehair back to center, and then Tevin Jenkins, not sure where he's gonna ultimately land. And I don't know. It's kind of like I would trust Poles with making those offensive line choices because like he was a lineman himself once and probably understands like what he wants to do with a guy like Fields. So I'm holding my breath. Like I'm not going to get too high, too low about it really. But yeah, I mean I can appreciate his discipline. Overall with the body of signings he's gone after so far, and obviously we bring over DJ Moore in that trade with a lot of draft capital. So it's like we got to just let the artist do his work and let him complete his work for this season. And if he can leave like some good flexibility left for the years to come, like years 2 3, in this process, I feel like truly going all in, like we'll see where we end up.
Yeah, yeah. He's not done. He's not done yet. With free agency, particularly. So, I think, I know there's still a lot of other people out there like Yannick, right? I know is another name out there for an edge rusher that I hope we're probably going to look into. I think he fits our scheme really well. He's a terrible run block or run stopper from what I've heard, but Honestly, I don't think we care about that. We were last in sacks, so I think just having like a third down edge rusher that can get to the quarterback, get some hurries. Um, you know, I'm pretty sure we can get a pretty decent deal on him. And then obviously heading into the draft, I think a lot of scouts have been saying like this is one of the, I guess, deeper drafts in terms of the line, both on the offensive and defensive side. So, heading into the draft, but at the same time, we don't want rookies just everywhere on the line necessarily. So I think we definitely have to strike that balance of having vets and then also having, talented rookies. But I foresee probably Poles picking in the first like 3 rounds, 4 rounds. I know there's been talk about this whole Bijan Johnson, but Bear fans are idiots, I think, if they're thinking that we're going to get a running back in the first round, at least in my opinion. And I know we just signed, was it Homer and then also Deonta Foreman. So that's just highly unlikely we're going to be drafting a running back now. So
Yeah.
it's basically gunning for Poles just to draft defense and offensive linemen in like the first couple rounds, I'm thinking.
Yeah. We also got Tunyon today too, which I thought was
Yeah.
interesting because they said he's not a really good blocker. So I'm like, so we're gonna have two Cole Kmets, like basically, because more athletic tight ends, which is fine. Like I think Tunyon's like a good pass catcher and may open up some space for the other guys and vice versa. But yeah, like you're saying with the D line, like Demarcus Walker and Andrew Billings, I think was the other guy they signed today. I think like Billings was a really low end signing, so some people like had good things to say about him, but I think he only had like really one sack and like three tackles for a loss, I think, on the entire season. So it's not like he's like a real game breaker, game changer. It's just kind of like, what are we actually doing up front? And yeah, I mean, it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens when we get to the draft. From a complete roster standpoint, if this is to me, and I'm maybe being more cautious about next season and kind of what I think the greater vision is, but like this is like year one for me, honestly. Like, and I know we're already like going into year three of Fields, but it's like they didn't really assemble anything. So,
Mhm.
I feel like I've got to give it some time. So I just want them to pick best available, like at really any positions of real need for the next like 2 to 3 seasons. Um, so that we can like be in Super Bowl shape,
Yeah.
possibly the year after this one or the next. And then, that's like the grand plan, like the master plan if like everything all like kind of works out together. But what other interesting ability of getting on that kind of plays out? Like Poles could see himself like maybe trading down again in the draft and like getting more picks and more. And I'm like, I'll be honest with you, if our choice is like Skaronski or another lineman or something, like trade that shit down. Like I don't really care. Like
Yeah.
keep trade to a point where you're like, this is a good player for that pick, and if we can get something else for it, like we're in
Yeah.
that. I feel like just we're in that situation where like we need strength in numbers.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. It's definitely, I mean, Pauls has never like not one player has he ever reached for, I feel like. So that certainly is where I mean he's certainly I think he's made mistakes, right? You know, I guess maybe the jury is still out a little bit for Velas, but I don't know. I'm doubting that pick. But all his draft picks were like very good value. Besides, I guess Velas, but yeah, basically all his picks were really solid value, at least in his previous draft, and then all of his signings are, generally just seems like pretty good deals overall. Um, and even the ones he misses, it's like in terms of them actually playing and playing well, he kind of makes up for it by like getting rid of them eventually, right? So or having team friendly deal in terms of free agency. So that's where he's like he kind of has an exit strategy for everything. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm curious, but yeah, I definitely like. I think he's probably gonna be trading back. I would imagine. I mean, if he traded back last draft, then he likes his draft picks, so maybe he does trade back and picks up whoever. Who do you want to see first pick?
Man, So if everything stays like, it's hard to say because we don't know what else he's got up his sleeves for free agency. But I would say, like, let's say he does nothing else until we get to the draft.
Mhm.
Like, I know this guy is now clear of like serious. Like, I've heard like maybe he's been hitting up Bojangles or Zaxby's or KFC. Like, I heard he was sweating a lot at his workouts and stuff and gained some weight. But like, dude, like, I don't know, man. Part of me is like, yo, take the red pill and go out and get Jalen Carter because, like, seriously, if I think of like one thing that we need right now, like we do need that defensive anchor like up front. I am a little now worried about like character, like makeup, things like that. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like you kind of have to punish a player like that from an executive standpoint, like because if you don't, then he'll know he can just like do all those kinds of things and just kind of
Mhm.
make that his standard. And I feel like Tunsil had to pay like a pretty hard price for like doing the full mask bong or whatever. But like, I don't know if it's not Carter, if we get to this point where we're in the draft and like Carter's not going to be like really appealing from a character perspective, if it's really about that,
Mhm.
then yeah, I think my handful of like offensive tackles that may fit our scheme for running.
Mhm.
And just like we did with the number one overall, of like if it makes sense to like trade down like like a specific tackle or one of the edge rushers or whatever else it may be, like a wide receiver maybe, trade it to that team and like see if we can snag like a second or a third with it or whatever it is, man. Like you know, I'm cool with them getting creative if they're not going to get the guy that they like truly desire at that slot. So, I still think we do have needs like in a lot of areas that we have starters too. Like I think our wide receiving core is good, but it's not championship good.
Yeah.
It's like competitive good. You know. But
Yeah.
what do you think? What would you want to do with that number 9 pick?
Mm, if t yeah, I don't know if I wanna swing for Jalen Carter, but, um, I'd probably see if Tyree Wilson is there, like, I'm taking him. I think that for me is probably the only defensive player that's around that range, that I see fitting the Bears pretty well. If that doesn't work out, then yeah, I'm considering trading back. Um, Paris Johnson, it's like, do you really want to be getting I mean, you draft Paris Johnson and you feel like he's going to be your future left tackle. I feel like right tackle at 9. That's maybe it's my opinion on it. Just like that seems like a little bit more of a stretch. But if you see him as like your future uh, left tackle, which he did play in Ohio State for 1 year, but kind of bounced around a little bit, but has all the physical attributes, and then bounce Braxton Jones over to the right tackle. I think that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, Peter Skoronski, I know they've thrown his name around, but honestly, like, if you're left guard and he's limited as a left guard, I know that's kind of his floor. That's definitely where I'm a little bit hesitant. I know there's maybe comparisons to Rashawn Slater, right? Who's had a really great career so far, and has, similar measurables, I guess, and, came from Northwestern and all. So, but again, yeah, I feel like that's a little bit more of a reach. But so that's definitely where it's like if Tyree Wilson isn't there, then I feel like you got to see what you can get to trade back. And then in terms of trading back, um, I'm thinking Kawhi Kancey out of Pittsburgh. He has had a lot of comparisons to Aaron Donald, just a little bit shorter and not as muscular. So, but has that pass like similar, like I guess height and weight, but similar in terms of their ability to get to the quarterback. I think he had like close to 30, if not like 30 pressures from the interior. So the whole value of the three tech, which I think he suits best on. I think that's where he could provide some value there. Um, or hey, honestly, take a swing on JSN, see what happens there. if you're, if the value makes sense there. I think those are probably the players I would think in the first round overall, though.
Yeah, like I wouldn't cry if we made a subsequent trade if we drafted like Smith and Jigba, and then we like traded Mooney or Claypool for whatever else, like draft compensation, salary,
Hmm.
whatever it is. Like, if we can
Yeah.
upgrade there meaningfully, like, let's go for it. So, yeah, man, I think the world's our oyster when it comes to just like the cap that we still have left available, and then all the options, all the possible Skronsky take, because it's kind of like, all right, we're already playing musical chairs on our line. Like, we kind of
Right.
need to define guys at certain positions because, like, I just don't see that working out where it's like you're just shuffling the board around, or like one or two guys are playing out of position or are hybrid type guys. And it's just, I don't know. I just feel like you need some like true anchors there to like really
Hmm.
protect Fields, give him confidence, feel like your line is like assembled properly. I mean, not to doubt like the talent that he is, but it just all kind of seems like puzzling every time I look at a mock draft and I read the description. It's like, yeah, Skaronski's kind of a guard, but he's going to play tackle. It's like, oh, tackle, you know, fucking like monster tackle. We don't need more guards playing out of position, whatever it is. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, so that just kind of like gives me, I just kind of laughed about that. But, um, I know my phone is like draining on this battery right now. I think I have a 10 from all the running around that we were doing just to figure out
Oh,
and going live for the first time. But
yeah.
yeah, in general, maybe we fire this back up, in due time and kind of cover more of the free agency,
Right.
pool all and stuff. But do you have any other
Sure.
like general thoughts about Bears and what you'd like to see before draft?
Yeah, I mean, just there's not too many picks out there at this point. I feel like in terms of free agents, that I think are just gonna wow, Bears fans. So I think this is we've reached our peak, and it's just much more about value signings for depth. I think from now on. So would love to see them maybe grab a corner. I think again, if their sole focus is maybe just to load up on young lineman, which apparently, it seems like Poles feels confident he can pick out some good ones. Then yeah, maybe get a corner of some sort. What's his name? Rocky Sin, I think it is, or I'm probably
Mhm.
botching his name. Yeah,
Yeah,
a corner like that could probably uh, really, get bring a lot of depth towards the secondary. I think because yeah, I think Kyler Gordon, they're very much trying to get him in the nickel package that is he's really plays an important part for Eberflus's defense. So if that's the case, then yeah, just keep him there and get like a rock sin out there, something like that.
yeah, no, it makes sense. It seems like nowadays you need, you know, way more than two corners, like in the
Yeah.
traditional stuff too. Like you need all these different types of packages that offenses are, kind of running, especially just being a pass heavy league. It's like super important to have depth there. So every time I see like teams with like, the Eagles or something with like 3 to 4 top end corners, like, damn, like they're really going after it, like loading it up. And they got to the Super Bowl last year. So
Mhm.
it all kind of makes sense when you think of like where Poles and Cunningham are coming from and how they like want to
Yeah.
assemble. But yeah, so we also got better than Simeon to me. I know we released Simeon. Maybe that takes away the opportunity for like the Hendon Hooker surprise draft pick if we ended up.
Yeah.
PJ is all right. I mean, like, I think he's capable of like playing a handful of games if Fields goes down or something like that, like being semi competitive as a backup. But
Yeah.
yeah,
They've got
I don't,
chemistry with DJ Moore too, right? Like they had that
yeah,
one Hail Mary and everything. So yeah, there's some continuity hopefully there.
we're turning into the Panthers of the North.
Yeah.
I actually made a joke with my brother. I was just like, yeah, could we have picked like a more successful franchise to like coaching all their guys and shit? Because it's all good. I mean, I feel like the guys that we did grab were like some of their better players. It's not like
Sure.
it was all their trash or whatever. But yeah,
Burns, yeah.
funny though if like Fields does go down, you got like the Walker Foreman Moore combo going. Yeah, just like running it all day. But as long as the Packers keep getting worse, and you never know like what the lines are going to be now without Jamal Williams and with Monty and uh, the Vikings. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Quezzy made a couple of signings that I mean, at least they liked from. I think they got like Byron Murphy as a corner, and they got
Mhm.
somebody else that was pretty decent too. I can't remember. I think it was another defender. But yeah, in general, I feel like that division is going to be more and more up for grabs in the next couple of years for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's almost cyclical, right? Of what happened with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers in a way. Like everybody was just waiting on Aaron Rodgers had to wait like 2, 3 years, right? So almost
Hmm.
the same way as Jordan Love is kind of just chilling over there. But I mean, and if history repeats itself, damn it. But I mean, honestly, I don't think anybody's really seen too much from Jordan Love. So, knock on wood. But I mean, you got to feel like if you're going to bet on anybody between like Justin Fields, where the Bears franchise is at, what they're doing in free agency, the draft, what Ryan Poles is doing, you got to feel pretty damn good compared to, I guess, what Jordan Love is working with up there. They still got some weapons here and there, but not too much compared to I think where the Chicago was going at least at this moment. So
Yeah. Well, cross our fingers. Hope that this blueprint continues to like put us into the right direction toward contention next year. Especially would be super nice if we like could go into next year with a team that we think could make the playoffs in some capacity. So we'll see. But yeah, I think my phone's about to power down. If anybody's out there, check us out on Instagram at Ball and Breakfast. We'll be posting more live videos here, and with whatever footage we got, we'll probably try to package this and drop it into our page here on YouTube. So leave us a like, comments, and stay tuned with us.